Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Auto Transport Intel. It is Wednesday. It is noon Central Time. That means it is time for some DOT compliance with your DOT guy, Brian Riker. The point of this show is we're going to be live for 30 minutes, and we want you to post your questions. Now, do us a favor. Go ahead after you leave a like. Thank you so much. And if you miss this show live, it's okay. Put it in the YouTube comments below. We're also going to share an email address where you can send your questions because we know you have questions. And if you are lost in auto transport, just start now. Go to autotransportintel.com, click on sign up, become an ATI insider, send an email, share it in the comments, put it in the live chat, say hello. Devin's already in here. What's going on, Devin? Devin thinks he has a stumper. What's a stumper? Well, if you have a tough question, because, clearinghouse, ELD, IFTA, IRP, weight rating, CDL, DOT, etc., your DOT guy, Brian Riker, is here to answer your questions. And there's some tough stuff out there, and we know that, and that's why Brian wants to help. So we're live for 30 minutes. Brian is here. He's answering questions. Let's check in with Brian. By the way, hey, what's up, Danny? Brian, how are you doing today, man?
I'm all right, Jay. And you?
I'm good. In fact, I think my audio's a little. Mic check 1 2 3. Please let us know. Is the audio okay? Is the video okay? So high winds. Tell me more about high winds,
Well, I'm
Brian.
going across the Texas Panhandle, and we have severe wind warnings out here, gusts of 50, 60 miles an hour. They haven't enacted a empty commercial vehicle ban yet, but I could see it coming. The wind is pretty fierce out here today, but it beats the heavy snow up in the Sierra Nevadas, and I've got to get out to California for Friday.
So empty commercial vehicle. That would be those tipped over dry vans that we see. Is they
Yes.
do that?
Yes,
Interesting.
they'll put a ban in some states when they have these severe weather or severe wind like this. They'll put a ban on empty or lightly loaded high profile vehicles, commercial vehicles, double trailers, stuff like that. New York is famous for this, not just in the winter when the roads are slippery, but when the winds get high. New York is quick to enact a empty or lightly loaded commercial vehicle ban for a period of time.
So we got, okay, cool. We have our friends piling in the live chat. John is here, Fritz is here, Mitchell's here, David's here. All right. Well done. Thanks, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. All right, let's start with Devin. Let's jump right into it. Devin says, hey, Brian, I might have stumped you last week. All commercial vehicles in Virginia non-CDL must be registered at 26,000 non-CDL. I am not permitted to use personal tags as stated last week. I'm headed to the DMV now. Let's see if they turn me away one more time.
Okay. And when he says personal tags, maybe I misunderstood him. So I'll give him the stump because, like in Pennsylvania, our truck plate is a truck plate, whether it's in your personal name, a business name. But some states, he is right. Some states do have a commercial tag for your pickup truck or your straight truck or whatnot. So, yes, fair enough. I'll give you. You stumped me, man.
That's
Good
all.
job.
You know, I'm going to give you a stump. There it is. So you get this stump, right? That's
The,
actually, we should have a stump award. I like
we,
this.
we need to get a couple of those stress balls built like a stump and mail them out to the people that can beat me. And to be honest, to be fair,
It's
I am
great.
not a state expert on motor vehicle registration. That's why I don't process tags and titles. I don't process any state level vehicle registration. I'll do your operating authority, but when it comes to your state level plates, there are people that are much better at that than I am. Now, Pennsylvania, I understand our rules pretty clearly, being I've been in Pennsylvania most of my adult life.
And so, and I appreciate, listen, um, I appreciate the whole thing. This is pretty cool.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is great. David, let's see. David says, how difficult is it when a single owner operator adds another employee? How long would it take? What's needed? Thanks.
Everything that you needed to add yourself. So If you are a CDL company, so you're hiring a CDL driver to operate a CDL required vehicle, you'll need to query them in the clearinghouse. You'll need to do a pre-employment drug test. You'll need to do your background investigation where you check their previous employer history for the last 3 years, collect an employment application, collect their motor vehicle record, get your insurance company to sign off on it. So really, starting right there, when you decide you want to hire a driver, the very first thing you want to do is investigate their MVR. Don't take their word for it. Don't take the copy of the report they bring with you. Spend the $10 or $15, order it, or submit their information to your insurance company and say, hey, can Joe Driver here be covered on my policy? Is his record acceptable to you and his experience level? And that's true whether it's CDL or non-CDL. Then do your background investigation, make your phone calls on him, check his previous employer references, make sure you're not hiring a troublemaker. And I hate to say it that way, but unfortunately, a lot of people that come to the one truck owner operator looking to work is because they can't work in a well-regulated trucking company, and so they're looking for the way out or the way around the rules. So just double check on that. And then get with your tax professional to see what you need to do for withholding taxes. Get with your insurance company. Now, if you have an insurance company like Progressive for your motor carrier public liability, they are not going to do workers' compensation. So you would have to get with a workers' comp provider in your state, which as a new business hiring your first employee may even be their assigned risk pool. You may not have much of a choice. My home state of Pennsylvania, we have over 300 companies that write workers' comp insurance. So you can shop around. You can find a rate from anywhere from 3 to 4 cents per $100 of payroll up to 8 or 10 cents per $100 of payroll. Your workers' comp is going to be based as a percentage of what you pay that driver, and it'll be audited at the end of the year. So you may need to make up some premium on that. Workers' comp could be a whole different show. But basically, from the DOT point of view, check their license, make sure they're qualified, make sure your insurance company will handle them. Drug test with a clear result and a clearinghouse clear result if they're CDL, and workers' comp insurance, whoever you're going to get that through. That really is the basis of hiring someone. The process should take you anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks the first time you do it, especially if you have to go shopping for workers' comp insurance and everything. That could take the longest to get somebody that's willing to write you and write you at an affordable rate.
You know, it's interesting. I always say that, right, we know it's hard to be an employee because we worry, are we going to get fired and, money in this. Man, it's hard. Turn the tables. It's hard to be an employer.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm investigating a couple of concepts such as using a PEO, a professional employer organization, which is a third party that hires you and all your employees and then leases them back to you. So they manage the workers' comp. You get workers' comp at a better rate. They manage all the HR functions because there's a lot to hiring somebody. You have to give them a bunch of disclosures, know the labor law posters that hang in most workplaces. Well, you need to hang one in your office, even if your office is the kitchen table, because that's where your employee may report to come collect paperwork or whatever. There's a lot to it. So I really suggest finding and researching either a professional employer organization or an HR specialist in your area. Most towns have someone that does payroll and other general HR work for small businesses, because just the withholding tables can be confusing to some people. And remember, you have to withhold your 15.4% of their payroll, and you have to be able to submit that to Uncle Sam. He wants his pound of flesh, as does the state. Maybe even a local county agency has a 1% employment tax or something. So there's a lot of research before you hire somebody. But the actual process of onboarding someone shouldn't take you more than 2 weeks once you've done all the underlying research up front.
Thank you, Brian. I put a link for the professional organizations just to get started and make you think about some things. Fritz asks, if someone has their own authority, can they be leased on with another company at the same time?
Yes and no. You can only operate your vehicle under one company at a time. So it gets very convoluted would be the best way to say it when you're leased on to another company. Because to have your own authority and keep it active, you're going to have to maintain your own public liability and all the other requirements to go with having a trucking company. Well, you're operating under somebody else's authority. You'll have to have a trip lease in the truck that shows that you're working under them. You'll have to cover up your DOT number. And then it gets really complicated for the base plate registration on the truck and the motor carrier that's responsible for safety, because your state doesn't normally let you just bounce that back and forth from one to the other. So that has to be spelled out clearly in your lease document. It's better to have that motor carrier have broker authority and just broker the loads to your authority than you being leased on while trying to maintain your authority, or decide you want to just be leased on to somebody and suspend your authority, voluntarily revoke it. The days of trip leasing when we had authority to run east to west, but not west to east or vice versa, the days of trip leasing are pretty much over and done with. It's a concept that is very rarely used. Occasionally we'll see it in the oil field, but it's very rarely used anymore. I can't give you a lot more advice on it than what I just did here. So maybe we got another stumper today because I'm not an expert on it. It can be done, but it's very complicated. That's my answer.
All right, and I want to, camera one. Thank you, John Cochran. John Cochran is ringing the Super Chat cowbell. Thank you so much, John. Really do appreciate it. Appreciate your participation and support and your updates. And that applies to anybody. If you want to send us an update, and I'll share the link. Send in the news to autotransportintel@gmail.com. Send us photos, company info, promotional material, complaints, news, what have you. Go ahead and send that in. Silver Mint says, is it appropriate to allow the at-fault party to correct the situation before pursuing a claim? You're welcome to share our conversation if it helps others.
I'm going to say it depends. Are you comfortable with the at-fault party handling this? Do you think they have the resources? And do you think they're going to handle it appropriately? Because if you delay filing a claim, you may risk the claim being rejected. That said, when we're the at-fault party, we want to work with our client and fix the damage on the car ourselves at a body shop of their choice or our choice before we turn it in. So just on principle alone, we should afford that same luxury to somebody that, say, bumped into our truck in the truck stop. That said, you're taking a lot of risk, because if you don't immediately report it, you don't start the police report procedure if it's a reportable accident that way, you may be giving up your chance to actually have an insurance claim, and then you're going to be stuck fixing it on your own anyhow. So I'm going to say use your best personal judgment on that. No two situations are the same.
Yeah, that's a definite double-edged sword on that one. Let's do this. We've got some items here. Let me bring up what we've got here. That was the live chat. Now we're going to go to some... Okay. Synthetic urine has been working for years, is the comment on our... When we talked about medical marijuana, part 40. Synthetic urine has been working for years. Brian, any comment on this comment?
If you need to use synthetic urine, do us all a favor. Park your fucking truck and get out of this industry, because there is no need to cheat the test. Do it right or don't do it at all. But seriously, yes, synthetic urine's been working. That's why when we first introduced drug testing in the 90s, we had direct observation where the collector had to watch the urine leave your body and enter the specimen cup. And I can tell you that was very uncomfortable, because I worked for a school bus company at the time, and I was one of their authorized collectors. And we had to watch guys and girls, and it is very uncomfortable to do. And if we have a problem with synthetic urine making a major comeback and getting detected in the drug testing, then they're probably going to want to bring direct observation back. And I don't think that the 4 million of us that do it right out here want to have someone watch us pee, because there's a couple thousand idiots that want to use synthetics. There's cleanse products. There's all sorts of stuff that works. That's not the point. The point is, if you need to go that far that you're strapping a bag of fake pee to your leg to go in and give a drug test, then you have a problem, man.
Wow.
Go fix it.
Wow. All right. Well done. Hey. Okay, this is proof. I've said it before. If you send in a question to Brian, and it's on air at YourDOTGuy.com. I put it in the live chat. I'll put it in there again. If you send him a question, get ready to read. Here's the proof. All right, here we go. This gentleman asked, some information, good stuff. What if anything do I need to change? Brian's answer: bang.
I only have 14 or 15 bullet points in there.
I'm not here to read this now, but if you want to get your phone out and screenshot that, great stuff. The point is, Brian really is, no doubt, Brian really wants to help, and he will. It takes a long time to put this together.
That right there, Jay, is worthy of being shared somewhere where it has time to be digested, because that really is a step-by-step guide when you're converting from non-CDL to a CDL operation. Because that's the question that this gentleman asked, is he was upgrading his trailer after getting his CDL. So what did he have to do? Well, a lot of things change when you bump up from a non-CDL rig to a CDL rig. It's not just as simple as changing the weight rating on your trailer and going down the road. Now you're apportion plates, fuel decals, drug testing, re-registering your truck and trailer to take advantage of the new weight. There's a lot that changes.
Great question, B Logistics, because we're about to get to some of that information. Stick around. Here we go. We do have How We Doing, and let's see here. Oh, this is just a news story. This guy made a turn and flipped over an excavator. Did you read that one? Tom's River. And nobody was hurt. The excavator lands on a vehicle and nobody's hurt.
That's very fortunate.
Isn't
No,
that
I hadn't
amazing?
seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's good times. Hey, remember how we were saving for a house? Well, surprise.
Well, at least he's got a big bunk they can live in it.
Oh, yeah, she's thrilled. Will you start a trucking company with me? Love this meme and topic. So let's go to it. Here's what you need to know about the entry-level driver training rule going into effect in February. Brian, what is going on with this?
This is important to our audience because a lot of the auto transport intel ecosystem are non-CDL drivers that aspire to get to the level of having a CDL rig and a CDL. Well, starting February 2022, if you're going to get a CDL for the first time, upgrade your CDL, say from a Class B to a Class A, or add certain endorsements for the first time, you're going to have to take entry-level driver training from an accredited instructor. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of acid reflux. You're going to have to take this entry-level training from an accredited instructor. You won't just be able to study. You can study and go past the written test for the permit, but before you can be issued your CDL, you will have to have completed this entry-level driver training, which involves classroom, on the range instruction, and behind the wheel instruction, to make sure you have demonstrated at least a basic competency that is a little bit more than what the CDL test currently is. So what it's going to do, it's going to force a lot of people to go to truck driving school instead of having their uncle or their brother or their dad that's already a driver teach them how to drive and sign off that they're good to go. It makes no difference to anybody that already has their CDL permit prior to February 7th of 2022. So if you're thinking about doing it, go out and get your permit now. And as long as you don't let the permit expire, you can do a renewal of your permit. You will not need to do the ELDT training. That said, I strongly recommend what's in this curriculum. There's no minimum number of hours that it has to take, but it's all very good information that they want you to understand in there.
So then what's your take on this? I mean, do you think this is a good thing? Like B Logistics, do you think the driver shortage problem will get worse? I mean, what do you think will happen, and do you think this is a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. Honestly, I think the entry level driver training standard needs to be stricter. I've said this for years, and I upset a lot of people when I say it, but we need to look to the Australian or the German model where driving is not looked at as a fundamental right like it is in this country. We believe we were born with the right to have wheels, and if you go to Germany, you spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours just to get your car license. Or you go to Australia, you don't just decide one day you're going to be a tractor trailer driver. You have to graduate. You start driving uh, light commercial vehicles, then heavy goods vehicles, straight trucks, then tractor trailers, then multiple trailers. It's not just, okay, I've drove a Toyota Prius for 10 years. I'm going to be a truck driver because my career in IT didn't work out. And I'm not making fun of anybody that does that. That's acceptable here in the US. And with the right training, you can be a very skilled driver. But I think we need better training, just like an airline pilot. They have 1,000 to 1,500 hours in the air long before they're ever put in control of that airplane when you're riding on it as a passenger. And we should have a similar type of apprenticeship program in the US. In the short term, would it make the driver crisis worse? Absolutely. These large motor carriers, they count on having a ready supply of new willing CDL applicants that know nothing about the industry that want to become a truck driver. They count on that so that they don't have to pay you a fair living wage. Truckers' wages have not kept up with inflation. We make less now when adjusted for inflation than we did in the 70s. We make less now as a truck driver doing the same job that I did 30 years ago. So it puts us in a really bad spot. So in a long way, I'm saying, hey, we don't have a driver shortage. We have a driver turnover problem where people don't stay in the industry. We have more CDL holders in this country than we have truck driving jobs available. But I think part of why they don't stay in the industry is they're fed a bill of goods that isn't an actual true representation of what this job is, just like the guys that you like to pick on that read a book, go buy a pickup truck, and you're going to make $1 million. We're sold a bunch of half truths to get us into the trucking industry.
What I did is I shared the link for the so there was a website tpr.fmcsa.dot.gov, and it outlines the information there for the ELDT program. So thank you for that, Brian. That's great.
Anybody that's qualified can go to that training provider registry and sign up to be a training provider, get a training provider ID. Now, that said, you're going to be responsible for your students. They're going to attach that number to their license forever and ever, amen. And if they start seeing problems with students that come back from a specific training entity or a specific trainer, then they're going to investigate that trainer. So be prepared, read what it is. Maybe you're qualified to teach the theory. Maybe you've got the parking lot and you can do the skills pad and the equipment to do the on-road as well. So maybe some of you want to do some training. And the qualifications to be a trainer, I forget them off the top of my head, but minimum, I think, 2 years of driving, no accidents or major citations, and experience in the vehicles that you're operating. But go ahead and look into it. That's a great resource to put up there.
Awesome. Let's go to what do we got next here? Let's take that down. Because in fact you were talking about driver shortage. So OIDA message of no driver shortage hits the mainstream. Found that very interesting. They listed a bunch of articles where they feel like the message is getting out.
Yes,
Business
finally.
Insider. Yeah, right. That's a good thing. Take it from a trucker. There's no trucker shortage. Newsweek.
Yeah. We craft something like 40,000 new Class A CDL holders every year, or is it every month? I forget. It's a ridiculous number, but we craft more than we need, because they're talking about a shortage of 80,000 drivers over the next couple of years, but we craft more than what they need in a year. So there's over 1 million more current CDL holders than there are CDL jobs available right now.
That's incredible. In fact, Fritz is looking for just clarification here. So currently CDL holders can get endorsement after February? Question mark.
I'm not 100% sure. I saw that on there as well. And what I think they're trying to say there is if you currently hold a passenger, school bus, or hazardous material endorsement, you will not need to take the entry-level driver training to renew it. But if it's your first time applying for passenger, school bus, or hazmat, even if you've already had the CDL but have never previously had those endorsements, you would have to take entry-level driver training as part of the upgrade, which is a much shorter, smaller curriculum just to upgrade than to apply for the first. But I'm not sure. This is still brand new, even though this was supposed to go into effect last February. It's still brand new, and I'm in the process of registering to be a training provider, so I'm still learning all of this.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. What else do I got here? Dispatcher checklist. All right. I put this together, and I already shared this, but I just wanted to simplify. And so I put this together, and I'm no lawyer here. So this is just my understanding as a dispatcher. Okay, so let's go through this. Do you look for loads for carriers? Okay, looking for loads for carriers. Are vehicles dispatched because of the work you do? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do you have your own central dispatch account? Okay, as a dispatcher, no central dispatch account.
Correct, because that would imply you are a carrier if you had your own account on any of the load boards.
Right. I'm in other accounts, which are carrier accounts. Do you personally accept payment from a vehicle when a vehicle is dispatched? So do you get paid when a vehicle is dispatched or collect any money from a shipper? No.
Right.
I don't get any money.
Yes, if you did, you would be a broker then.
There we go. Do you take physical custody of loads? No. I'm sitting in an office on a phone. That's it.
Otherwise, you'd be a freight forwarder at that point, which is a whole nother authority.
Right on. Do you personally move freight in any capacity? Just to hit it again, right? We're going to keep hitting it.
Yep. Nope. Otherwise, you'd be a carrier or a freight forwarder.
Are these dispatches sent to you or to a carrier that pays you?
Well, with that one, if they come to you first, then you're a broker unless they come to you in the name of that carrier. If the dispatches are just in the carrier's name, then you could be a dispatch service and be legitimate.
Do you get paid by people or entities paying money to ship vehicles? Meaning, this is getting into, again, are you collecting money from a shipper? Do you get paid by people paying money to ship vehicles?
If you do, you're a broker. If you get paid by your carrier for your services you provide for them, then you're an independent contract dispatch service.
And so then just a couple more follows. Would you say that you book loads for carriers, or rather, do you arrange for the shipment of freight?
Well, if you book loads for carriers, you're a dispatcher. If you arrange for the shipment of freight, that is in the physical definition of a broker.
So what's interesting here is that it seems clear to me, to you, it's clear to Sue. we're all clear, and yet the broker dispatcher war, it continues to rage. Apparently, there's another wave coming, and so brace yourselves. Here comes the wave.
Well, the TIA, the Brokers Trade Association, and the Owner-Operator Independent Driver Association, they have an attack on, OIDA and TIA are attacking each other, and the independent dispatcher's caught in the middle. The independent dispatcher has become a little bit of a problem when they're not doing it right, just like the carriers that don't have the proper operating authority are a thorn in our side for those of us that do it right. They're the ones that are pretending to be a broker without a bond or doing other services they're not supposed to. I imagine that upsets your legitimate dispatchers like Sue. So I can understand that one. I'm hoping that we'll get some clarity out of FMCSA in response to the TIA petition so we can put this issue to bed for once. Or put this to bed once and for all.
And that's why it feels like, and we're going to go in a minute, but it feels like we have to keep our drum banging as loud as possible. I say our drum, I mean the drum of logic. But because what I think we all fear is to see a law enacted that doesn't understand the reality, and it just gets rubber stamped, and then everyone goes, yeah, you know, our side won, even though we're wrong. And so we just want to, and this goes also into, we were having a conversation, we're going to keep this offline, but there does seem to be this misunderstanding where a carrier that isn't an authorized broker is still subcontracting loads, even though that's illegal brokering, man.
And that's a very common occurrence. And up until about 15 years ago, it was a legal occurrence. You were allowed to. It was called interlining. As long as they were an authorized motor carrier, it was allowable. They did some reforms. I want to say, I'd have to look up the actual history, but I want to say it was 15 years ago. I think it might have been MAP 21, might have been a little before that, because I'm thinking it's been more like 10 or 15 years. And then again, MAP 21, that was already 6 or 7 years ago.
Obama's like,
yeah,
a long time ago.
Yeah, interlining used to be legitimate, and that goes back to how we opened the show, which may have been even where they were getting at with, can you be leased onto a carrier while you have your own authority? The answer prior to this most recent change would have been absolutely. You would just sign an interline agreement. Now it's not quite as not quite as cut and dry as that, or even a trip lease, which is another 20-year-old term. So yeah, short answer. I used to do it. We used to sub work out to other carriers that we knew on a handshake, and they were authorized, and we were fortunate. We never had an insurance claim or a loss, because it could have been a problem. If the BOL is in my name, it's supposed to be my truck transporting it. Just all we can say is things have changed in the last couple of years.
And that's it. And there's the shame of it, is that I agree that it seems like you should be able to do that. But since we all love to quote scripture and verse of the law, well, here we are.
And we owe the passenger industry a great big pat on the back for this, because it used to be very common for a small charter bus company to have 2 or 3 buses, but take a contract to move. They needed 10 buses to move a trip, and they would just sub it out to another bus company that they were friends with. Well, after a couple of catastrophic, tragic, horrific bus crashes that killed people, the FMCSA stepped in and said, nope, we can't do this anymore. You can't share your authority except under these very limited scopes where you would have broker authority, freight forward authority, something like that in addition to it. I don't see where the extra authority makes you any less likely or more likely to pick somebody that is going to be safer or less safe. But this is the bureaucrats, like you were saying. They could really screw up the definition of a broker and an independent dispatcher just from not understanding the reality of the world they regulate.
Incredible stuff, Brian. Another great, informative Wednesday at noon, always on DOT Compliance. Brian, thank you so much. I know you need to get back to it. Get back and enjoy the wind of driving.
Yes. Hopefully the winds will change soon.
Get the wind at your back. All right. All right, well, we'll see you next Wednesday, okay?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thanks so much, Brian. Take care, buddy. All right, and see you all later. Hey, join us tomorrow on Dispatching Live as the broker versus dispatcher versus carrier war continues, rages on. Let's check the load boards and see what's going on. Find out if that load is really worth it and how you doing and how we're doing. All right, I'm going to let you go. That's it. Okay, bye.